The Napa Valley sun hung low, painting the vineyard in streaks of gold and amber, but my world was unraveling faster than a cheap hem. I stood in the bridal suite, the mirror reflecting a stranger in ivory lace. Me, Lily Harper, seconds from walking down the aisle. My hands trembled as I adjusted the veil, the one I'd spent months choosing, its delicate embroidery now feeling like a noose. The air was thick with the scent of peonies and hairspray, and outside the murmur of 200 guests buzzed like static. Then came the whisper, soft as silk but sharp as a blade, right against my ear. "You were just the stand-in, Lily." My sister Elise's voice, laced with a venom I'd never heard before, froze me in place. Her breath was warm, her words cold. "Always the understudy, never the star." I whipped around, my heart slamming against my ribcage. Elise stood there, her maid of honor dress a soft emerald that matched her eyes now glinting with something cruel, not sisterly. Her lips curled into a smile that didn't reach them, and she tilted her head, like she was savoring the moment she'd just shattered. "What did you say?" My voice cracked, barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder would make it real. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The truth was already clawing its way up my throat, bitter and undeniable. Nathan, my fiancé, and Elise, my sister, had been plotting something behind my back, and I was about to find out just how deep their betrayal ran. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have, each second a hammer against my resolve. I should have been walking toward the altar, toward Nathan's crooked smile and the life we'd planned. San Francisco loft, Sunday brunches, maybe a dog named Scout. Instead, I was rooted to the hardwood floor, the weight of Elise's words sinking into my bones. My phone buzzed on the vanity, snapping me out of the haze. A text from Tara, my college friend who'd stuck by me through every Harper family drama. "Check your inbox, now." My fingers fumbled as I opened the email she'd forwarded, a video attachment labeled "Rehearsal Dinner Toast." I hit play, and the world tilted. The screen showed Elise at last night's rehearsal dinner, standing under fairy lights in the vineyard's courtyard, champagne flute raised. Her voice was honey-sweet, but her words were poison. "To Lily," she said, pausing as the room hushed, "the perfect stand-in, keeping the stage warm until the real show begins." Laughter erupted, not the polite kind, but the sharp, mean kind that cuts deeper than a knife. I scanned the faces in the video. Nathan, grinning at the head table, his tie loosened, clapping like it was a comedy show. Bridesmaids I'd picked, friends I'd trusted, all laughing. My grip tightened, the phone's edges digging into my palm. I played it again, hoping I'd misheard, but each replay only carved the betrayal deeper. I sank onto the chaise, the tulle of my dress pooling around me like a deflated dream. How had I missed this? I'd spent a year planning this wedding, every detail, from the lavender-infused cocktails to the string quartet I'd begged to play at a James. I'd scouted venues across Napa, negotiated with caterers who charged more per plate than my rent, even wired the deposit for the floral arches when Elise, between jobs, had sobbed about her empty bank account. "You're my rock, Lily," she'd said, her voice thick with tears. I'd believed her. I'd always believed her. That's what sisters do, right? You show up, you fix things, you don't ask for applause. But now, staring at the invitation on the vanity, gold foil, calligraphy I'd spent hours perfecting, I saw it for what it was, a prop in their play. The envelope had arrived late, postmarked days after it should have been sent, Elise's looping cursive mocking me from the counter. I chalked it up to a postal mix-up, but now I knew better. It was deliberate, a quiet way to push me to the edges of my own story. My chest tightened, not with tears but with something hotter, angrier. I wasn't just the bride, I was the punchline. The door creaked open, and I flinched, half expecting Elise to slink back in with another barbed comment. Instead, it was Tara, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes wide with urgency. "Lily, you okay? You saw the video, right?" I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. She crossed the room in 2 strides, kneeling beside me. "There's more. I overheard Elise in the bathroom last night. She and Nathan, they've been rigging this for months. The guest list, the speeches, even the viral prank they're planning for the ceremony." My stomach lurched. Prank. Tara's face darkened. "They hired a comedian to interrupt your vows, call you the warm-up act in front of everyone. It's supposed to go live on TikTok." The room spun. A prank. Not just a betrayal, but a public spectacle designed to humiliate me, to turn my wedding into a viral meme. I pictured the guests, my co-workers, my high school friends, my mom's book club, laughing as I stood there, blindsided, my dress a prop in their cruel theater, and Nathan, the man who'd promised me forever over coffee in our tiny Mission District apartment, was in on it. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to steady my breathing. "Why?" I whispered, more to myself than Tara. She shook her head. "Elise always hated sharing the spotlight, and Nathan, he's been different since that promotion. I think he's chasing clout, Lily." "You don't deserve this." I stood, the dress rustling like a warning. My reflection stared back, fierce despite the tremble in my jaw. I wasn't going to let them rewrite my story. Not today. Not ever. I grabbed my phone and opened the shared cloud drive where I'd stored every wedding detail. Contracts, invoices, vendor contacts. My name was on every single one. Not Elise's, not Nathan's. Mine. I'd been the one to build this day, brick by painful brick, and I could tear it down just as easily. "Tara," I said, my voice steadying, "get me the venue manager, now." As Tara slipped out, I paced the suite, my heels clicking against the floor. The first danger hit me like a rogue wave. A notification pinged. My bank app, flagging a $10,000 0 cents withdrawal attempt from our joint account. Nathan's name was on the alert. He was trying to drain our savings, probably to fund their post-wedding getaway, or, worse, to cover his tracks. I logged in, my fingers flying, and froze his access, transferring the funds to my private trust. My heart raced, but I didn't falter. This was war, and I wasn't going down without a fight. The second danger came faster. A text from an unknown number. "Back off or we leak your old voicemails." My blood ran cold. Years ago, during a rough patch, I'd left Nathan raw, tearful messages begging him to stay after a fight. They were private, vulnerable, the kind of thing that could be twisted into a narrative of desperation. Elise must have gotten hold of them, maybe from Nathan's old phone. I blocked the number, but the threat lingered, a dark cloud over my next move. They weren't just playing dirty, they were playing for keeps. Tara returned with the venue manager, a wiry man named Greg with a clipboard and a nervous smile. "Miss Harper, everything okay? We're about to cue the processional." I straightened, channeling every ounce of calm I didn't feel. "Greg, I'm canceling the wedding, effective immediately. I'm the primary on all contracts. Pull the plug." His jaw dropped, but he nodded, scribbling notes. "I'll need confirmation on the clause 17, right? Vendor payment lock." I nodded. "Do it, and don't let anyone else override it." As he scurried off, I felt the third danger closing in. Elise's heels clicked in the hallway, her voice sharp as she barked orders at a florist. She was coming for me. The door flew open, and there she was, sunglasses perched on her head, a designer scarf draped like she'd just stepped off a yacht. "Lily, what the hell are you doing?" she snapped, her eyes narrowing. "You can't just throw a tantrum and ruin my day." Her day. The audacity burned, but I held my ground. "Your day? Last I checked, I was the one in the dress." She laughed, a brittle sound. "Oh, please. You're just jealous, always have been. Nathan and I— She stopped, catching herself, but it was too late. The slip confirmed everything. I stepped closer, my voice low. Get out, Elise, or I'll make sure every guest knows exactly what you've done. For a moment, fear flickered in her eyes, but she masked it with a smirk and stormed out. Danger 4. She wasn't backing down. She'd retaliate, and I had to be ready. I sank onto the chaise again, my pulse hammering. The 5th danger hit as I opened my laptop to check the vendor folder. A pop-up warned of a security breach. Someone had tried to access the shared drive, likely Nathan or Elise, hunting for leverage. I changed the passwords, my hands shaking, and backed up everything to a private server. They were circling, desperate to regain control, and I was one misstep from losing it all. But I wasn't done fighting. Not yet. I grabbed my wedding journal, its leather cover embossed with our initials, mine and Nathan's, a relic of a life that no longer existed. I flipped through pages of budgets, swatches, timelines, every detail a testament to my trust in them. Then, with a pen, I started crossing things out. Vendor names, seating charts. The emerald and gold palette Elise had stolen from my Pinterest board. Each stroke was a reclaiming, a severing of the strings they'd tied around me. I closed the journal and slid it into a drawer, my resolve hardening. They wanted a show. I'd give them one they'd never forget. Outside, the vineyard was chaos. Guests milled about, confused, as staff dismantled the floral arches I'd paid for. I slipped out a side door, avoiding the crowd, and found Tara waiting by my car. "Lily, you're trending on Twitter," she said, holding up her phone. A hashtag Napa wedding fail was gaining traction, with blurry photos of Elise yelling at a valet. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just got in the car and drove, the Napa hills blurring past, my mind racing with what came next. They'd called me the stand-in, but I was about to rewrite the script, and this time, I'd be the one in the spotlight. The drive back to San Francisco was a blur of adrenaline and asphalt. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Texts from guests, voicemails from my mom, a cryptic message from Nathan. "We need to talk." I ignored them all, focusing on the road and the plan forming in my head. Wasn't just canceling a wedding. I was dismantling a lie, piece by piece, and I'd need every ounce of cunning to pull it off. By the time I reached my Mission District apartment, the sun had set, and the city's neon glow felt like a challenge. I parked, grabbed my laptop, and headed inside, the weight of the day settling into my shoulders. My apartment was small, but mine. Clean lines, a fiddly fig in the corner, a coffee table stacked with design magazines. It was my sanctuary, but tonight it felt like a war room. I lit a cedar wood candle, its flicker steadying me, and opened my laptop. The shared drive was still secure, but I double-checked every contract. Venue, caterer, quartet, lighting crew. My name was the only one listed. Elise had planned the aesthetics, sure, but I'd handled the logistics, the payments, the legal fine print. That was my power now, and I'd use it. I pulled up the guest list, a spreadsheet I'd color-coded with RSVPs. Names were missing. My college roommates, my old boss who'd mentored me, even my cousin who'd flown in from Sydney. Elise had whittled it down, replacing my people with hers, turning my wedding into her stage. I clicked open the program PDF, the one I'd designed with care, and scanned it. No mention of me. Not in the bridal party, not in the acknowledgments. I was a ghost in my own story. I leaned back, my hands clasped, and whispered to the empty room. So this is what I get for being the glue. A ping broke the silence. Another text from Tara. "Check Insta," Elise posted. I hesitated, then opened the app. There it was, a photo of Elise at the vineyard, her dress catching the sunset, captioned, "Some dreams are worth fighting for." The comments were a mix of heart emojis and confusion. Wait, where's Lily? What happened to the wedding? I scrolled, my jaw tightening until I saw Nathan's like on the post. No comment, just a heart. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a performance, and they were playing to the crowd. I stood, pacing the hardwood floor, my bare feet cold against it. The dangers I'd faced today, the bank alert, the voicemail threat, Elise's confrontation, the security breach, were just the beginning. They'd underestimated me, assuming I'd crumble under their cruelty, but I was done being their prop. I opened my email and drafted a message to every vendor, my words precise. Please place all services on hold. Do not proceed without my direct confirmation. Lily Harper, primary contract holder. I hit send, my heart steady for the first time all day. Then I called Nora, my lawyer, who answered on the first ring. Lily, you sound like you're in a storm, she said, her voice warm but sharp. I am, I replied. I need you to activate Clause 17 on the venue contract, full legal hold effective tonight. There was a pause, then a rustle of papers. You're sure? This is a big move. I closed my eyes, picturing Elise smirk, Nathan's laugh, the video that had gutted me. I've never been surer. Nora chuckled softly. Oh, all right, warrior. I'm on it. I'll file it by midnight. I hung up, my resolve a quiet fire. They'd wanted to humiliate me, to make me a viral joke. But I wasn't the one who'd be trending tomorrow. I walked to the window, the city's skyline glittering below, and let the truth settle in. This wasn't just about a wedding. It was about reclaiming my life, my voice, my story. And I was just getting started. The next morning, I woke to a San Francisco fog so thick it felt like the city was holding its breath. My phone was a minefield, missed calls, texts, notifications piling up like debris. I ignored them and brewed coffee, the ritual grounding me. As the machine hissed, I opened my laptop and checked my inbox. 2 emails stood out, one from the venue confirming the cancellation, and another from the florist noting they'd redirected the arrangements to a local hospice per my request. I hadn't expected that detail to hit me, but it did, a small act of good in the wreckage. Then came the buzz, a text from Tara. Lily, you're viral. Check Twitter. I hesitated, then opened the app. Napa wedding fail was trending, with clips of Elise screaming at the venue staff, Nathan stumbling in late, and guests milling about in confusion. A local influencer had posted, biggest wedding flop since that Vegas elopement. Who's Lily Harper? I didn't read the replies. I didn't need to. The story was shifting, and for once, I wasn't the villain. I slipped into a navy blazer and jeans, my armor for the day. Nora's office was downtown, a short drive through the city's morning hustle. As I navigated traffic, my mind replayed yesterday's chaos, the video, Elise's taunt, Nathan's betrayal. But beneath it was something new. Power. I'd taken the first step, but the dangers were still out there, waiting. The voicemail threat, Elise's next move, Nathan's desperation. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. They'd tried to break me, but I was still standing, and I'd fight until they regretted ever calling me the stand-in. By the time I reached Nora's office, the fog had lifted and the city sparkled under a rare blue sky. I stepped inside, ready to sign whatever needed signing, to lock the past behind me. This was my story now, and I was writing the ending. Let Elise and Nathan scramble for their applause. I was building something bigger, a life where I wasn't just the bride, the sister, the stand-in. I was Lily Harper, and I was enough. The San Francisco skyline glittered beyond Nora's office window, a mosaic of ambition and betrayal, much like the life I'd been unraveling. I sat across from her, the leather chair cool against my back, my hands steady as I signed the final termination notices. Each stroke of the pen severed another tie to the wedding that never was. My wedding, now a viral spectacle dubbed Napa Wedding Fail. Nora, her silver-streaked bun catching the morning light, slid a full Lily. "You're airtight," she said, her voice a blend of lawyerly precision and maternal warmth. "The vendors are locked down, your trust is untouchable, and the restraining order against Nathan is in motion. You've played this like a chess master." I nodded, but the weight of the past 48 hours pressed against my chest. Elise and Nathan's betrayal wasn't just personal. It was a public execution, and the fallout was only beginning. As I left Nora's office, the city buzzed with its usual chaos. Cable cars clanging, baristas shouting orders, tech bros weaving through traffic on electric scooters. But beneath my navy blazer and calm exterior, a storm churned. The dangers I'd faced, the bank alert, the voicemail threat, Elise's confrontation, the security breach, were warning shots. Now the real battle loomed. My phone buzzed, a text from Tara. "Elise is losing it. She's on Insta Live, blaming you for everything." I clenched my jaw, resisting the urge to check. I didn't need to see her performance to know the script. Lily, the jealous sister, sabotaging Elise's perfect day. But the truth was sharper, and I held the blade. Back at my Mission District apartment, I brewed coffee, the ritual a tether to normalcy. The cedarwood candle flickered on my counter, its glow a quiet defiance. I opened my laptop, the screen casting a cold light across my face. Twitter was ablaze with "Napa Wedding Fail," clips of Elise screaming at the venue manager, Nathan stumbling in hungover, and guests whispering in confusion. A local news outlet had picked it up, their headlines screaming, "San Francisco socialite's wedding implodes. Who's to blame?" The comments were a battlefield. Some called Elise a diva, others painted me as the villain. I scrolled past, my focus narrowing to the vendor emails piling up. Cake redirected to a shelter, florals donated to a hospice, quartet canceled, refund processed. My name was on every contract, a power I hadn't realized I wielded until I'd pulled the plug. Then came the first new danger, a gut punch I hadn't seen coming, a notification from my work email, urgent, meeting request, HR. My stomach dropped. I was a senior event planner at a boutique firm, my career built on precision and charm. Had the wedding scandal bled into my professional life? I clicked the email, my pulse racing. The meeting was scheduled for tomorrow, no details provided. My mind spiraled. Had Elise or Nathan spread lies to my boss? Were clients pulling out? I pushed the laptop away, my hands trembling. This wasn't just about a canceled wedding anymore. They were coming for my livelihood. I stood, pacing the hardwood floor, my bare feet grounding me. I needed to move, to think. I grabbed my keys and headed to Dolores Park, the city's heartbeat, where joggers, dog walkers, and street musicians blurred into a living tapestry. I found a bench, the grass damp from morning fog, and let the chaos settle. That's when the second danger hit. A call from an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Lily Harper?" A man's voice clipped and professional. "This is Derek from Bay Area Gazette. We're running a story on the Napa wedding fiasco. Care to comment?" My breath caught. The press. Of course. Elise's meltdown was catnip for tabloids, and I was collateral damage. "No comment," I said, my voice firm, and hung up. But the call lingered, a reminder that my story wasn't mine alone anymore. It was public property, and the narrative was slipping. I returned home, the apartment's quiet, a stark contrast to the city's pulse. I lit another candle, its flame a small act of control, and opened my journal. I wrote 3 words: reclaim the story. Elise and Nathan had tried to make me the villain, but I wasn't going down quietly. I pulled up the joint bank account, now empty after my transfer to my trust. Nathan's name was still linked, a ghost of our shared dreams. dreams of a Pacific Heights condo, weekend trips to Big Sur, a life I'd believed in. I logged into our shared cloud storage, my fingers steady as I revoked his access and changed every password. Business, legal, personal, gone. It wasn't revenge, it was survival. The third danger struck that evening. A knock at my door so sharp it startled me. I peered through the peephole, my heart pounding. A courier, holding a cream envelope with no stamp, just my name in Elise's unmistakable cursive. I opened the door, signed for it, and tore it open. One line, slanted and venomous. "You'll always be second best." The words burned, not because they were true, but because they echoed every insecurity I'd buried. Every time Elise had outshone me, every moment I dimmed myself to keep the peace. I fed the note to my shredder, its buzz a satisfying crunch, but the threat was clear. Elise wasn't done. She was escalating, and I was in her crosshairs. Sank onto the couch, my journal open, and let the anger fuel me. I wasn't second best. I was the one who'd built that wedding, every vendor, every contract, every detail, and I'd torn it down with the same precision. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Nora. Proceed with the civil suit, emotional distress, defamation, return of the $15,000 0 cents ring. I hit send, my resolve a quiet fire. They'd wanted a spectacle, I'd give them a courtroom drama. The next morning, the HR meeting loomed like a guillotine. I dressed in a charcoal blazer and pencil skirt, my armor for the corporate battlefield. The office, a sleek loft in Soma, hummed with the usual chatter, but eyes followed me as I walked to the conference room. My boss, Claire, sat with an HR rep, their faces unreadable. "Lily," Claire began, "we've had a complaint. A client claims you used company resources for personal vendettas." My blood ran cold. Elise. It had to be her, twisting the narrative to sabotage my career? I leaned forward, my voice steady. "That's a lie. I've kept my personal life separate. Name the client." The HR rep shifted, uncomfortable. They requested anonymity. Of course. I exhaled, my mind racing. "Then let me prove it. Pull my project files, my emails, my time logs. I've done nothing wrong." Claire nodded, but the doubt in her eyes stung. "We'll investigate," she said. "For now, take a few days off." Suspended without proof. Danger 4. My reputation was on trial, and Elise was the unseen prosecutor. I left the office, the city's fog mirroring my mood. I needed allies, not just evidence. I called Tara, who met me at a coffee shop in the Castro, its rainbow flags a defiant splash of color. Over lattes, she slid her phone across the table. "Lily, you need to see this." A group chat labeled bridesmaids. Elise's inner circle, including Chloe, the one Nathan had been spotted with. The messages were brutal. "Lily's gonna crack just like high school till we post the dress clip." My stomach turned. They'd planned to film me in that fluorescent pink monstrosity, a dress 2 sizes too small, and make it go viral. Tara's eyes were fierce. "You're not alone, Lily. I've got your back." I nodded, grateful, but the 5th danger loomed. The video. If they had footage, it could destroy me before I could fight back. That night, I sat at my kitchen island, a half-eaten sandwich beside me, and opened my laptop. I pulled up the vendor contracts, my name a shield against their lies. I made 3 calls, to the caterer, the florist, and the quartet, each confirming my hold had been honored. Then I emailed Nora again, add breach of verbal contract to the suit. They violated our planning agreement. I didn't sleep much, my dreams a tangle of Elise's smirk and Nathan's laugh. But when I woke, the fog had cleared, and so had my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for justice, I was fighting for me. The next day, the scandal exploded. A guest's video from the vineyard went viral, showing Elise shrieking at Nathan on the marble steps, guests gawking, a 3-tiered cake melting in a delivery van. The caption read, "No wedding, no groom, just drama and debt." Twitter lit up, memes spreading like wildfire, Elise as a bridezilla, Nathan as a deadbeat. A florist posted an unpaid invoice, sparking a thread of vendors sharing their own. The narrative was shifting, but I stayed quiet, letting their lies unravel. Tara texted, "You're trending in spirit. Elise's meltdown is all over Reddit." I didn't reply. I was too busy planning my next move. 3 months later, the dust had settled, but the wounds hadn't. I stood on my apartment's balcony, a breeze carrying the scent of eucalyptus, when a cream envelope arrived. Family retreat, Lake Tahoe, hosted by Elise and Nathan. My cousin Mia had scrawled a note, "If you go, I'm bringing popcorn." I stared at the invitation, its elegant font a mockery of their chaos. Part of me wanted to burn it, to let the world spin without me, but another part, quieter and fiercer, saw an opportunity. Not for revenge, but for closure. I booked a cabin in Tahoe, miles from their lodge, close enough to feel the hum of their celebration, far enough to stay untouched. That Saturday, as they grilled and posed for Instagram, I hiked a trail behind my cabin, the pines filtering sunlight into speckled gold. Laughter drifted from their event, a hollow echo of someone else's story. I reached an overlook above the lake, the water still as glass, and breathed. Then came footsteps. I turned, bracing for Elise, but it was Quinn, a bridesmaid who'd once called Elise her soul sister. She slowed, her sunglasses glinting. "If I'd known what she did to you," she said, her voice low, "I wouldn't be here." She walked on, leaving me stunned. Her words weren't an apology. They were a crack in Elise's armor, a sign the truth was seeping through. That night I sat by my cabin's window, a glass of Pinot in hand, and opened my laptop. I typed a message to Elise. "I forgive you, but I remember everything." I hovered over send, then deleted it. Forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for me. Instead, I opened my photo gallery, picked a shot of my boots by the lake, and posted it on Instagram. Freedom suits me best. I turned off Wi-Fi, letting the silence wrap around me like a blanket. The fireflies blinked over the lake, and for the first time in months, I felt unhooked, not angry, not triumphant, just free. The next morning, I drove into town for coffee, the barista greeting me like a regular. As I wrote in my journal, a text from my aunt flashed. "Elise and Nathan are sued again, bakery this time. It's all over Facebook." I powered down my phone unbothered. Their chaos wasn't my story anymore. I spent the afternoon in a local gallery, buying a painting of a lone oak in a field, a quiet reminder of resilience. Back at the cabin, I lit a candle, not for ceremony but for comfort, and wrote in my journal, "Closure isn't applause or apologies. It's the silence that feels like home." Weeks later, I stood in my new office, a small space in San Francisco's Dogpatch district. No marble, no gold, just a hand-built desk, a ficus tree, and gauzy curtains letting in soft light. My first client, a young bride named Sophie, sat across from me, her planner trembling in her hands. "I want it perfect," she said, her voice cracking. "My sister's wedding was flawless, and my parents, they expect me to match it." I listened, letting the silence stretch, then leaned forward. "You don't have to prove your worth, Sophie. Not to them, not to anyone." Her eyes widened, like no one had ever said it before. When she left, she stood taller, lighter, a knot loosened in her chest. As Sophie walked out, my phone buzzed. An email from Elise. Subject, apology. "You didn't deserve that. I was jealous. I hope you'll understand." No punctuation, no warmth, just regret scribbled in haste. I read it twice, feeling nothing, not anger, not vindication. It was a note left on a windshield, not a bridge rebuilt. I closed the tab, leaving it unanswered. Elise's word stand-in had haunted me, but now I saw it for what it was. Nathan's projection, his fear of being forgettable. I'd been his buffer, his scapegoat, but never his equal. I opened my journal and wrote, if I was a stand-in, it was for the life I was meant to live, and that life is now. I stepped outside, the autumn breeze brushing my cheeks. My team waited at a park bench, sandwiches and iced teas spread out, their laughter a quiet anchor. I waved, and they scooted over, making room. No gossip, no tension, just shared sunlight. The restlessness that once gnawed at me, during family dinners, engagements, birthdays, was gone. I belonged here, in this moment, in this life I'd built. My phone buzzed again, a new client. Heard you turned down your wedding and built a legacy. Any room for me? I smiled, tucked the phone away, and took a bite of my sandwich. No fireworks, no vengeance, just peace, earned and lived. I wasn't their stand-in. I was my own beginning. The lessons were hard-won but radiant. Trust yourself when others falter. Resilience isn't loud, it's steady. And sometimes the greatest victory is walking away, not to burn bridges, but to let them collapse under the weight of their own lies. San Francisco's skyline glittered in the distance, a city of second chances, and I was ready for mine.